What happens now? What happens after a weekend like this where there were no losers? Weili wasn't a loser. Time ran out. Chandler wasn't a loser. He had a broken hand and time ran out. Colby wasn't a loser. Time ran out, right? I mean, I had a coach that used to say this when I was a little kid. I didn't really get it at the time. I thought it was just a way that coach was wrapping up practice. But he would talk about this, that you don't always lose. Sometimes you're just behind on points when time runs out. But you don't see a lot of that in combat, guys. One guy always quits. The whole sport is to make the guy quit. You could do that through punching and kicking him, or you can do it by getting him exhausted. But either way, he's going to shut down. He's going to concede to you. Even if he hangs in there and makes it from bell to bell, he's going to concede. I had this wrong. You're faster than me. You're stronger than me. You want this. You trained better. Whatever it is, a concession will be made. Whoever makes that concession loses the fight. The entire word fight is about two wills, two spirits coming together, and you're trying to break the other guys. You're in there trying to destroy somebody else's dream, and you need them to come to the same conclusion that you have. That's what the whole fight's about. Colby never backed down, not once in the Usman fight, neither did Usman. Chandler never backed down, not once, neither did Justin. But the same thing goes for Weili and Rose. Eventually, time runs out. You just don't usually see that many great contests all in the same evening, but we did here, and it's relevant because what do you do now? I have to keep being reminded that Colby lost. I know he's not the champion, but then I forget that he lost. Is that happening to you guys already? And the same thing with Chandler. Like whatever Chandler does next, I expect to be huge and likely later on the card. Generally, if you get beat, you don't go up the card. I could see Chandler's next fight being a main event, and I can't see it being less than a co-main. And then I have to, but wait a minute, he lost. He's coming off of a lot. Did he? Or did time run out, right? There's a different way to think of it. But I suggest that for you because what's the bigger fight, guys? You're the ones that decide. So this would be pure anticipation. Ask yourself what you would anticipate more. The feeling that you just had for Colby versus Usman, or the feeling that you would have if you knew that Colby was going to fight Masvidal. I don't know which is a bigger fight. But the mere fact that Colby could come in second and his next fight could be bigger, it's a very important lesson that you learn. No other sport has made it acceptable, particularly in combat, to get beat. The greatest trick Dana White ever did was to make it acceptable to get beat. Boxing not only hasn't done that, boxing doesn't know how. They haven't even started these steps. That's why you can't get a guy that's 11-0 to fight another guy that's 11-0. They're going to give to 20, 25, 30 with a big zero. They'll have made no money. They'll have fought in front of nobody. They'll have never been on television. They're still fighting at a local bar against some bum that needed a few bucks to get in there. It's faker than hell. Those records aren't respected. Those athletes aren't respected. But this is still what they're going to do. And they have to do it because the culture of the sport does not make it acceptable to have a loss. It is the single most... If you're going to study anything on Dana, go back and study how he did that. Truly. Go back and study how he did that. Acknowledge that the sport's three biggest stars in this order are Conor McGregor, George Masvidal, and Nate Diaz. And then go and look and see that they all lost their last fight. As a matter of fact, they all lost their last two fights. They're the sport's biggest stars. It's very interesting. I more just want you guys to find this interesting. I don't have an overarching sophisticated point here, other than that's something that you're seeing right now. And I'm not sure that Colby versus Masvidal, who are both coming off losses, isn't an even bigger fight than what we just saw Colby do with Kamaru. I'm not sure it's not. Where does Colby go from here? Colby said he wants to go into Masvidal. Masvidal has not responded, but in all fairness, he doesn't have to. And again, I'm talking street rules here. For George Masvidal to not answer this challenge would be very off-brand for Masvidal. Masvidal does not need to respond to the challenge because Masvidal has his hands full with Leon Edwards. Masvidal's busy. I get it. But where are the rest of you tough guys? Where are the rest of you tough guys that said Colby has a big mouth and Colby's all talk? Colby talked his way into this. Colby has no opponent. I heard a lot of fighters talking about him when he was busy, when he had a date, when he had an opponent. Where are you guys at today when Colby's looking for a fight? You're not also looking for a fight? Or all of a sudden you don't have the same opinion that that's a good idea? Kamaru Usman is a top 2 welterweight to have ever done it. Like it or not, Colby Covington is a top 5 to ever have done it. Ever. And I feel like I'm buying myself room by saying 5. I think that the order goes GSP, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington. That's what I think. So I'll buy all the way down to 5. But there is countless shows that I could get a calendar out over countless years and point to you on which nights what the skills that Colby just showed would have won him a world championship. Is Usman the greatest fighter in the world? Ever. I know he's the best right now. And I know I also don't have to argue that point because he officially got the number 1 ranking pound for pound. He had it. He re-solidified it. Will continue. So I don't have to win that argument because I'm already getting my way. But is he the greatest to have ever done it? Perception says no. Perception says George St. Pierre. Perception never brings into account who you fought. It never brings into account the eras that you fought them. It will look at it and say, and I'm making numbers up, George won 14 fights and Usman has only won 11. So obviously it's George. That's just the way this game has worked. That's ridiculous. You could be the best and have gotten out of the sport. You could have been the best for one night. Chael Sonnen, who is known as the second best American wrestler of all time. Conversation. John Smith, Chael Sonnen, Jordan Burroughs. Then you go ahead and fight out the order. But he only won 1 gold medal. But he won it in his first Olympics after his college career, and he walked away. And on that day, and for the previous part of his career, it was more impressive than anybody else had ever done. But we got guys that are 2-time Olympic champions. How would it not be them? We have guys that are 3-time world champions and an Olympic champion. How would it not be them? Well, because wrestling doesn't get judged on the same thing. It's how good were you in this moment? And it is very relevant. For Kamaru Usman to get the due that Kamaru wants, he's going to have to be done. And don't forget, guys, this is an art. Mixed martial, what? What? Mixed martial what? Art. Relevant. Artists don't ever get the due until they're gone. Death in most occasions with the great paintings and the great sculptures you've seen. That's just the way it works in art. Kamaru Usman cannot be an active fighter and be called the greatest. And it won't matter if he passes George's records up. He's not going to get stated in front of George St. Pierre. It would not matter if Kamaru left the division and fought in another weight class and became champ like George did. If he's still active, he's not going to get that due. In fairness, Jon Jones might be the greatest talent we've ever seen. Maybe it's not George St. Pierre. Maybe it's Jon. Nobody will say Jon because he got a lot of those wins through cheating with the steroids and whatnot. He still might be the greatest talent. But that will never get told that way until Jon's done. There will be a time people are going to look back even fonder than they do on Jon now. It's just something that an active fighter can't experience because of mixed martial what? Art. It's something where time has to be removed. I do think it's a compelling question, and I do want you to answer it. I'm going to go back to it one last time. Colby Covington versus Kamaru Usman, or tell me the bigger fight, or Colby Covington versus George Masvidal.